A call to prayer breaks the silence of the day in Granada, southern Spain. The beautiful, ethereal tone, a lasting tribute to the Moors' religious legacy here. And the muedzin's drifting song echoes across to perhaps the most striking and tangible testament to Spain's Islamic past, the mighty Alhambra fortress, and where our journey reaches its end. To Yasmin Maymir, history and faith are two of the most important elements in his life. Give him just a few minutes and he can transport you back in time.
As a Muslim, one of the most important things that Islam tells you to do, find knowledge. Without knowledge, you cannot go anywhere. My father, he was born in Cuba, and my mother in Italy. That was in the 1980s. They come and visit Granada especially. They really sense the Islamic history that was here. And this attached them. So we moved here when I was 3 years old. So when you grow up, unless some interest is within you, you go read, you go research, you are surrounded by history, you are surrounded by beautiful heritage as well. When I was about 22 years old, I started reading. So I started sort of being their tour guide and teaching them about what year was this built, who built this. And at this point, I started learning more and more, me myself, about all this history. So welcome to Alhambra. That gate called Bab Alhambra will give us access to the royal palaces and the Medina, the World Heritage Site place in Granada, and visited by 10,000 people per day, almost 2 million people per year. So here we are in one of my favorite places in Alhambra, is the courtyard of Comares. And especially from this spot, you can see the perfect blend between the plants, the water, and the building. That's the blend of the Islamic architecture, the three elements are inside this. And the position where the pool is located is precisely in the place where the reflection of the tower can be seen exactly in the water. And it has a philosophy and a meaning behind it. You imagine the Sultan walking by and he suddenly look at his strong tower. He will look down and he will see the reflection in the water of this strong tower, but now the water has these waves and the tower will look like it's crumbling down. He will suddenly remember, wow, nothing is strong, nothing is eternal in this life. Only God is eternal. When you actually walk around, you have kind of the same feeling. Because even now, by walking in here, wow, look at our Muslim ancestors. They were so experts into the decoration, into the architecture and everything. And you may start to feel this proudness of this place. It's a good thing, but still not get attached to it. Oh, okay, we're just here for a short time. So let's appreciate it and go on. So here we are in the palace of Muhammad V. He is the son of Yusuf I, and it's actually the most luxurious palace in Alhambra, as during his time, Granada Kingdom was one of the wealthiest kingdoms in Spain. So you can see all the marble columns and the beautiful and perfectly symmetric architecture. It's actually well oriented south, north, east and west. And one of the most interesting part of here is the technique of architecture that they use in. You can see in every column they're having a layer of lead. It's a layer of lead in the column and is put it in every column, in the top and in the bottom. That layer of lead will absorb any seismic movement or any expansion and contraction of material during summer and winter and will prevent the cracking of the structures. So we are in one of the rooms of the palace of Muhammad V, the room of Ibn Serrajes. And the beautiful thing of this room is actually the dome. They use a technique coming from Baghdad. The technique is called al-muqarna in Arabic, mokarabes. At the same time, they give a beautiful shape of the star, which is the transition from the square shape of the room to the dome shape. And in the star, you have all the 16 windows. And in the poem that we have around this room is speaking about how the light goes through the windows and give beautiful, colorful reflections. So that's why we know those windows used to have colorful glass, stained glass. And all the poem and the star blends with the speaking of the constellation. And then you look up and you look like the constellation full of stars. I'm very grateful to be able to do this job because you are able to bring in front of the people some history they wouldn't realize before. And they are able to see and touch with their own hands, to see with their own eyes, and make them kind of realize the place where they are. You can already see in the wall. You have a lot of decoration, vegetal motifs, and calligraphy, Arabic letters, Arabic phrases. There are more than 10,000 all around Alhambra. And for many, many years, people didn't know about the meaning. So today we have the pleasure to be with Juan Castilla, the researcher that has been spending the last 10 years translating the whole of the Alhambra. And he's going to teach us about the Arabic inscriptions in the walls. Hi, Juan. How are you? Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Wow, I'm very impressed entering this palace. It's absolutely beautiful.
The
one that you've pointed out here says, "There is no blessing that does not come from Allah." Or for example, this one can be translated into something like, "The happiness continues." Right over here, we have a smaller inscription that we call the motto of Nasrid dynasty. We know that at the turn of the century, this dynasty was responsible for constructing the Palace of Alhambra. It literally says, "There is no victor but Allah." Right here is one of the inscriptions that I found most interesting. Here the same pattern is repeated. It says, "The power is God, then the glory is God, then the kingdom is God's." So what we have here is a phrase that is repeated consistently throughout this frieze. We know because there was a vizier or a counsel for the High Court for Muhammad V, who himself left written testimonies that he composed this poem. Well, we know that this is an alcove, similar to the other 9 that are here in the room of the Comares, and we know that there was a space that was reserved for when the viziers or counselors were receiving people who were ambassadors from the other kingdoms. What draws my attention the most is that at the very entrance of the alcove, there is a phrase that says, "The one who speaks well should be respected." And on the other side above the alcove, there is another inscription that we refer to as an inscription of judgment that says, "Don't talk too much, and you'll be at peace." They had left advice or warnings for the ambassadors on the walls. The inscriptions here really are beautiful and tell us so much about the people that once lived here.
When you go inside Alhambra, it's a very special feeling because it really has this feeling in yourself that you leave your worries outside Alhambra. When you enter the palaces, wow, you are in another world, no worries. When you go out, your worries are waiting for you outside there. You really feel still the presence of these Muslims inhabitants, of the Muslims Grenadians, Muslim Andalusians that were living here. I actually have the strong intention to connect again with our ancestors. Just know about where you're coming from. And that will actually make you more present in the day by day.